MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Welcome to MedBix Webcast. This is Raman Anamaraju. I'm the host of the MedBix Webcast. No, I'm not Albert Einstein, but I'm pretty good. you know, so we have a very great program today. I'm going to introduce you, former OBGYN chief of Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. I'm going to bring him to the stage. But I have a great program today. I'm going to present the polymath physicians. Why? What is a polymath? Polymath is doctors who like to learn, like Dr. Gergely, the guest I'm going to introduce, is like familiar with all the other fields, not just their own field, not just focus on just medicine. They learn art, technology, philosophy, the physics, chemistry, and mathematics. All of them they need to learn. That is the key of the new future physicians. The physician game is over just focusing on one field because the reason is that the technology is taking over, Silicon Valley is taking over. So what you need to do is you need to learn and expand your horizon, all the doctors, and learn other fields. That is, those they used to be very common in the old days. I'm going to introduce those people, what they inspired, the doctors who did so many other things. So I'm going to introduce them, and then so they like a doctor, the present guest. Uh, so that is then also at the end I have a treat. I have a treat for you. It is nothing to do with nothing to do with the medicine. It is something is different. I am from a small village in India. My village people, the director is from my village. One of the movie won the Golden Globe Award, Indian Telugu Indian song. I'm going to play that song. It won the Golden Globe Award yesterday. I'm going to play that song at the end of the show. But anyway, Robert, let me introduce you. Robert Gergely is a physician he was a former physician, former OBGYN chief at the Cedars-Sinai, and he came from different countries. He lived in Romania and Israel. Let me bring him to the table, and I'll ask him. Um, welcome, Doctor. Welcome, Doctor Gergely.
Yes, I'm
Welcome to
here.
the MedBix webcast. So tell me about a little bit about your background. Where are you from, and how you came to the States, and where you were born, and all those things.
It's a long story, as you can understand. I was born in Romania. When I was a year old, my parents, who were survivors of the Holocaust, emigrated to Israel, and I grew up in Israel. I went to school in Israel. I went to the army in Israel. I've graduated medical school in Tel Aviv University. I was a flight surgeon with the Israeli Air Force. And when I was 30, I managed to come to the United States. I got a job at Mount Sinai in New York. Then they asked me to stay for another year. I came basically for 1 year. They asked me to stay for another year and do a fellowship in perinatology, which is high risk obstetrics. And then I got recruited to Cedars-Sinai to do my second year, and I followed the sun and I moved west. Then I finished my fellowship. I became the director of obstetrics for quite a while. And then I opened my private practice at Cedars-Sinai Medical Towers. And I was practicing for about 20 years there.
So you must have delivered a lot of babies, right?
I delivered the babies, but mainly high risk babies.
Oh, perinatal.
Babies whose mother had diabetes, hypertension, and other disorders. That's my subspecialty.
So the patients at that time, how the medical records used to work, how they used to, how you used to gather the medical records of the patients during those time.
How say it again?
The medical records,
As
how the
as you
patients during that time, how they used to bring to the, how you used to collect the
know,
information.
I got the question. Medical records were paper, and every doctor had a closet in his office where medical records were organized by name and by various codes and kept at the doctor's office, or the hospital kept it in their own basement. The decision
Huh.
to digitalize medical records came about 2004. At that time, President George W. Bush signed an executive order and spoke about it at the State of the Union on February 20th, 2004, and said the following: that within 8 to 10 years, every citizen will have his own personal medical record. And basically, what is offered is a decentralized system where every patient has its own record. So it's not going to, in a digital format. So it's not going to be paper in the doctor's office, but it's going to be all digital. And then in 2009, Bush, the president, started ONC, which is the coordinator at HHS, to lay out this beautiful program. And 2009, when the new administration came to the White House, the goal of ONC changed dramatically. Instead of a decentralized system, they decided, they got ordered from the White House to centralize medical records, meaning that one vendor or two vendors will centralize everybody's medical records in America. And that's what happened. Our medical records are all fragmented, hoarded in silos. For you to get your record, you have to query for it. You're lucky if you can get it. If you're the doctor and you look for a record of a patient, the whole
Dr.
system.
Gergely, the purpose of centralized medical records is everybody is supposed to be easier, but it was not easier. It became much more difficult, right? That's what you're saying.
It became impossible.
Yes.
When you fragment medical records to so many entities, radiology entities, billing entities, or laboratory entities, it all fragmented, it's not working. It was an experiment of the American technology ONC in the government. And the experiment failed. 20 years went by. It cost and spent about $80 billion with a B. And
Mhm.
basically, nobody has a longitudinal, individual, complete medical record. And that was unacceptable to me.
So, yeah, the Epic, Cerner, all these people took over and they wanted to control the patient's data. They're not sharing the data. That's another problem, isn't it?
The minute the data is entered into the EHR, which is the electronic health record, the data is out of your control or anybody's control. Everybody can get into it if they care to, and it's being modified by the computer, structured, manipulated to come out eventually in the format that you can see on your patient portal, which is absolutely has no medical value.
Yeah.
It's good for instant gratification for the patient, but for another doctor, it means nothing. We need the medical clinical note. It's a narrative, it's a text where the doctor puts in his experience, his impression, and his suggestion into what this patient needs. Now that's crucial. And it's like the work product of a physician. You cannot modify it, you cannot structure it, you have to leave it as it is. And the future doctors will look at it and they already will have some impression of what you might have based on your medical history. And that's what basically is really lacking. And what I'm offering is a way for every patient, now that the Cures Act passed and was enforced in
The
October.
Cures Act, right? Yeah.
Cures Act was enforced, not enforced yet, but effective as of October 6th, this past October, which means that every patient has the right to request their medical records, the original medical records, and the doctor is obligated, mandated to provide their record. If you digitally, it's going to be free. So a patient can ask the doctor, email me the medical note that you wrote for me. And I would like also the instructions. I want to see black and white when I go home from the office on my laptop or my computer. What did you find and what are the instructions? Most patients forget half of the instructions by the time they leave the office, the doctor's office. So this is going to be a good reminder for them. They got to get engaged. They might learn something. They can Google terms that they don't understand. And once they finished, they forward it to a safe deposit box in the cloud, which is uniquely theirs. And there they can start aggregating their medical records. They have the security on that safe deposit box provided by blockchain technology, and they are controlling who can get into the box or who cannot get into the box using their own cell phone, where a QR code, which is the key to the safe deposit box, is on the screen of the phone. And then when they go to any doctor, they all what they have to do is to show the QR code. They're gonna scan it and they're gonna have the whole medical record or the parts you allow them to. They're gonna have the whole thing. The new doctor will have it on his computer screen. It's basically like the old paper record, but this time in a digital format.
So, a lot of people get mistaken with the blockchain and the Bitcoin. Blockchain is a mathematical, I wanted to let me explain to the audience. Blockchain is a mathematical framework. You cannot you cannot penetrate. It's a technology, they use technology, but the blockchain is a mathematical framework that unpenetrable. Only that is a the, it is a like it is a, you cannot say lie. You have to, everything has to be recorded in the blockchain. So that is that the chain cannot be broken. And the democracy at the best working because the miners and all those things. But in general, a lot of people get mistaken. It is not a Bitcoin and all these crypto coins. There's a lot of fraud. That's what they think. There's no fraud in the blockchain technology. It is a
I love
mathematical framework. It cannot be penetrated. That's what it is. That's definitely, you're absolutely right, Dr. Gergely.
I
Uh,
love blockchain technology.
Correct. So actually, yeah. So one of the things that everybody is going to ask you, so it's like a Facebook wall. You have our entire history from the day one when you're born to all the way to the your life history is there in that wall, right? In that blockchain technology.
Theoretically, uh, Every baby born should get a QR code which is specific for the baby, and the parents should aggregate the baby's medical records, the history of the pregnancy, and a genomic study, if it was done, should be immediately recorded. And then, as the baby grows, the parents will continue and aggregate the baby's or young man and eventually adult child. And once the child is 18, they take over the responsibility for themselves. If they join the army, they become the DOD medical record. Once they finish the military, it becomes the VA medical record. And if you're in a civil world, then you continue for the rest of your life. And then you have a complete history that you can, with a automatic or a AI, artificial intelligence, to study it and to predict futures. That's what AI is all about. How can I predict a patient's case today, and what would be the outcome if I give him drug A or drug B or drug C, for instance?
Dr.
You
Gergely,
need
who? Yeah, go ahead. Go complete, please.
you need to go back. If you have the data, then you'll find out. This is where artificial intelligence, the natural place is to predict medical outcomes.
Gergely, there was a attempt like this, but it's not a blockchain. It's a Microsoft started Health Vault. It did not work out. They closed it actually. Google also started something. They closed it. So a lot of big companies did not succeed. Why you think this idea is going to be different than them?
Because the technology improved to begin with. Secondly, the attitude was with Microsoft was for patients to enter themselves the data and which will be stored on Microsoft. And that didn't work because people are too lazy to enter their own history.
Okay.
And all the Google's thing didn't work. I don't know why. The point is that I believe that the interest of everybody, that every patient will have their own record. This way, first of all, you keep medical privacy to the maximum when it's only communicated between your doctor and yourself as a patient. Secondly, you're responsible and you can reconcile your own medical record for error and mistakes. For instance, the EHR today, mistakes and really material mistakes are rampant because doctors are hurrying, they're under pressure, they're putting copy and paste, and it turns out data that's unreliable, and they use it for studies and drug studies which are unreliable because of the data. This way, you can have a set of data that you, as a patient, you reconciled for accuracy, and for the patient's customer service, I would also provide the financial part of billing and payment so the patient reconcile their own accounts.
The question is, who wants the data?
The patient,
Patient wants the data because
the,
now all the companies we don't even know who wants the data.
the,
The everybody every That is a bigger problem.
the previous president gave a talk about the America First medical care that he kind of laid out. And he specifically said the patient owns the data, and he wanted to do the decentralization that I'm offering, but he couldn't do it for the circumstances.
When I get back, I will ask you what is your company name, what is our medicalpassport.com. You said that, and want to know what is a patent and what you're looking for from people to understand about your company. But I'm going to present right now. I'm going to present a topic. It's called Polymath Physicians that you can watch with me along with me. Okay,
Okay,
just
right.
just a minute. You will be on the side along with me. Um, okay. So this is Dr. Robert Gergely. He comes back and he's going to talk about passport.com, that is sponsored by medicalpassport.com. You can go and check it out. But I'm going to, the present topic is as a polymath physicians, how the physicians of the future should supposed to be. What kind of a physician in the future is going to be. After that, I'm told you that I'm going to have a treat for you for the Bollywood song. But anyway, these are the upcoming guests, and I have Dr. Gergely. I've been talking now, and John Silver is going to be tomorrow, and then Dr. Dr. Sever is going to be on the July 25th, and Katie Cole, Dr. Katie Cole, is going to be on January 26th. But anyway, let me. What is the? Oh yeah, that is this. I put. I hope I put the right. Yeah. So what is a polymath physician? A polymath is an individual whose knowledge spans a substantial number of fields. A person who knows a lot of other subjects. That's what the physicians are supposed were like that. Physician, poet, astronomer, physicist, mathematician. They're all together. One doctor is to do all these things. That is a very different than nowadays. We are too focused on it. In the BC first century before Christ, even first century millennia, first century BC, first century, I think, before Christ, there was a surgeon. His name is Sushruta from India. He was the original surgeon. He wrote several books. One of the book called, he's a Vedic scholar. He wrote a book called Sushruta Samhita. Is a book. Is a medical journal he wrote. And also he's a plastic surgeon. He was doing a rhinoplasty. He was doing a nose rhinoplasty is a nose surgeries. He was facelift. He was doing at the time it's not for the facelift. He was doing a cliff. The problem the children has that one. So he's doing that defect when you were born. So he was doing the rhinoplasty during that time. So the instrument on the left side, you see, as the real instruments, they're not that different from nowadays. It's really, first century BC, the instruments look, they are all displayed in Los Angeles Museum of Art. All his work is displayed. I don't know why it ended up in the Los Angeles Museum of Art, and Dr. Gergely can go there and look at it actually when you get a chance. But that is the first medical. Is a scholar, is an author, and also is to conduct medical exams, entrance exams for the medical students. People used to come from Cambodia and the Middle East used to come and study under him. He's a truly polymath. Then after that, Ji Hong, he's a third century physician from China. He's a he's a physician. He's a politician. His family is very well connected in the Chinese politics. He is a Han dynasty, I think. I don't know much about all the history of that process, but he's a linguist. He wrote several books, and then he was also military fighter, soldier. Actually, he was they was nominated as a like a marquis. That's I didn't know there's a title. Is a nobleman for him in China. So he's a very combination of all those things. But he was a very passionate about medicine. He loved his linguist and he loved philosophy. He wrote philosophy, So but he did one thing interesting. At the time, he wrote a actually handbook, small pocket book for the that encyclopedia of the for the handbook for diseases. Just people can carry and say if they get a cold, they can refer that. Is in third century BC, third century AD after the Christ. Third century. He wrote the book so people can carry with them and see what is there in the small problems they have. They can go there and get it done. Mostly herbal and plant medicines and like bones and animal bones and all those things. But he did a remarkable thing. One thing. So Actually, there is he used to give a medicine for a malaria fever for malaria. Shingwa. Shingwa is a sweet wormwood. It's like a wild grass. That grows in the China everywhere. He used to give that. He used to give that medicine to the people. He put in the whole night. He put in the warm water, and in the morning the extract comes out, and then he used to give to the patients. They used to uh, treat the malaria through that. It was not called malaria. He used to call them intermittent fevers, but the classic symptoms are all malaria. So one day, there was a problem in the recently that in 2000, I think, in the 1996 or 2000, that area, the Chinese traditional medicine physician, Dr. Tu Yuyu, from Beijing. She's a Chinese doctor. She has no Western background, Western medicine background. She's a truly traditional Chinese TCM doctor. What she did was, she was at that time Mao is raging a war against South Vietnam. A lot of people are getting killed in the not in the battlefield, but they are dying. All the soldiers are dying with the diseases. The Mao got worried, and he wants to cure, because they're dying with the malaria, and he was worried about that, and he wants to win the war. Mao did not like. He didn't care about lives. He was punishing everybody. Actually, he didn't care about people. But he was a cultural revolution. He started it. But all the soldiers are dying. He doesn't want to lose a war with the United States, which is uh, they are supporting the South Vietnam, and he's supporting the North Vietnamese. So what he did was, he hired two UU to 1967. He hired her to find a treatment for the malaria. What she did was, she doesn't have the Western background. What she did was, she went through the Chinese traditional books, old book. Ben Gao, there is a Chinese compoundium is a Chinese. I forgot the name exactly. Ben Gao is a traditional Chinese literature, medicine literature. And then she found out Ji Hong's a treatment for malaria. And then what she did was, she took it that exactly, and then she extracted a compound called artemisinin. That compound came out, and then it was treating. It is a huge success, and then it is treating the malaria. And then artemisinin compound was, so they give it to Novartis to manufacture artemisinin, and then they massively produces the artemisinin. Still they use Ji Hong artemisinin product combo, even malaria fever, even today. So she won the Nobel Prize in 2015. She's not even an American doctor. She attributed the credit to the Ji Hyun. Okay, so he was also, he didn't care about money. He was practicing in the rural areas, and then he's a politician. He was raging wars in the near provinces to get the books. He wants to get a library, so he was waging war there. So he was interesting guy. He's a so he's a kind of a he was kind of philosopher too. There's a Ji Hong village in China right now. People can go there still. Ji Hong the peak. So there is a lot of things. So he's a truly a polymath. He's a truly a polymath. The next one is Ibisana. He's from Iran. He's a first cardiologist actually. He's a 10th century physician. As a He's the Einstein of medicine, in my view. What he did was, he is a physician, philosopher, astronomer, medical author, medical ethicist. He wrote several books on medical ethics. So he was the first cardiologist. He wrote a first book on cardiac diseases called Kitab al Advait Club. I don't know Arabic, but I'm club. I think that's what club. That the club is hot. Advait is like the literature treatise. So book on cardiac diseases. He wrote a book, first book on cardiac diseases. He was an author. He was an expert in pulsology, and then he was using a calcium channel blocker. There's a medicine is called Jarnab, a medicine from is a English yew tree, a poisonous tree. You take extracted from the Jarnab from the fruits, zana of fruits and giving to the patients. Is easing the heart. Actually, he is the first one connected the heart disease with the lack of exercise, and he is a truly a great physician in my view. He's a he wrote a canon of medicine book, 10 volumes of 6 volumes of book. He wrote a book, and that is for 1,000 years. His book was these books were a standard publication, standard ones in the entire West, even in the West. So this actually Avicenna name. They is Avicenna his name, original name, but the Latin people gave him Avicenna. But his books were for 1,000 years. He was ruling as an author for the medical journals. He was also he's a truly a polymath. He wrote Albert Einstein gave a general equal principles of equivalence. That is a when you're falling freely from there. If you drop a hammer and the feather drop at the same time in a moon, they fall on the ground at the same time, because it is the principle of equivalence, very powerful principle in physics. So what he said was, when you came with a similar experiment, is a very interesting thought experiment. He came out when you are falling. If you close your eyes and you block your eyes, and then you don't touch anything, and when you are falling from that, you don't have any senses at all. You don't know that your self awareness is gone. Then he says that whatever the leftover, your body is not feeling. You don't even think that you have the body. So if in that moment it says self-awareness is it comes out, is a consciousness is saying that a soul exists. So he was saying a soul and a body are two different distinct things in the medicine. That's what he was proposing. He was a he was kind of a inventor of the tripod. He was watching Venus. He is the first one who came up with the conclusion Venus is closer to us because the brightness looks similar to other things, but the way he computed it, and he came up with the conclusion that Venus is a planet. It is much closer to us than the I don't know it's a planet or not at the time. He doesn't know probably, but he was concluded that is closer to than sun. He's a truly he wrote a medical book, ethics book. He wrote a book on ethics, and United Nations instituted a prize, Avicenna Ethics Prize. In fact, that is a very particular about the ethics of the medicine. Is a truly a hero in medicine. He's a true polymath is a father of polymath in my view. Then there is a Italian physician, Girolamo Cardano. He's a he's a physician. He's a little crazy guy. He's a party guy a little bit. he's a he's a mathematician. He's a gambler. He's a prolific gambler. He was gambling all he fastened that bad habit to his children also. So he was always in debt. He always needed money. Then he's always broke. So he's a gambler. He's addicted gambler. What he did was Girolamo Cardano. He wrote he's kind of orthopedic surgeon. He had a lot of orthopedic instruments. He created it and all those things. He was a truly well-known doctor. They a lot of because he learned, but his passion is the mathematics. He learned from Leonardo da Vinci all his mathematics. His father is a good friend of Leonardo da Vinci, so he learned mathematics and anatomy and some kind of physics, biology, and everything from Leonardo da Vinci. But he's a brilliant guy. He's a very smart guy. So he has a gambling problem. He has a couple of wives also. He has a woman problem and all the gambling problem, all kinds of problems he has. But the genius. He did you know, so what he did was one of the things he did was during the time quadratic equation mathematics. His passion is mathematics. Actually, royals hired him. He could not get a job in Milan because he was a son of bastard or something. They said that he was not illegitimate child. They did not give him a job in Milan, so he went to a small rural town and started practicing there. But eventually, he was so brilliant. He was hired by by the kings in the other. He went to other things, Scotland also, in my view. So I don't remember exactly. He traveled quite a bit, and he was well regarded as a physician. But his original passion is the mathematics. So he wrote a cubic at that time, solving the problem of the quadratic equations and the cubic equations. Quadratic equation is when you throw a ball, it's if you know the initial conditions where the ball is going to fall. That is the quadratic equation gives you that information to you, and so you can measure, you can compute that process. Cubic equation is a three-dimensional one, so that is a very important right now. The it is a the rockets, all the spaceships, they have to have a three. They follow cubic equation solutions. So cubic equation is so if you see 3D reconstruction of the heart or the brain, that you see that is a 3D. You found the cubic equation is a missing link that you can compute the 3D reconstruction. You don't need a without seeing it, you can reconstruct the 3D through cubic equation. Even the PowerPoint that you're seeing, that all the curves you see is follows the cubic equation. So he solved the problem of cubic equation. In fact, he is a brilliant guy. His son was is always in debt. His son is sold everything that anybody comes, but he's a very interesting guy. He's a true polymath of the Italy. He's a very of the world. He's more and he came up with a game theory. Then people talk about it. If you go to Princeton, the biggest thing is all the economics and all these things nowadays. Computers or game theory is the main one. So that is a truly a great polymath physician. Then there's a Lanak is a musician. He was actually in the is in the 1826, 17. Sorry, the number is missing there. 1176 he was born, 1826. So he was a physician in France. He's a French guy. He's a flute player, wood carver. He's a carpenter, basically wood carver. So he was making his own instruments. Actually, the flute. He was passionate about flute, and he happened to be a physician. So what he did was he that he was the first inventor of the stethoscope. So how he got this idea was during the 1816, there was in Indonesia, there was Mount Tambora was blew up. That is a volcano covered the entire Europe. So that year 1826 is a year without a summer. So a lot of diseases, a lot of breathing problems, a lot of respiratory diseases that we are facing right now. So a lot of RSV, respiratory diseases. During the time, whole year, there is no summer at the time. Is blanketed the summer, the entire the gas is blanketed the entire Europe. So what he did was he did the so he during the time the women were getting a lot of sick. So he wanted to hear the woman's woman's heartbeat, but he was uncomfortable. Young woman also getting the diseases at the time. There is no respiratory problem for that large number of young women, but he has to listen to the heart. So he doesn't want to put his ear next to their breast. So what he did was he found a he got the idea from the flute idea. So he could understand, and he created a first stethoscope. He was the inventor of the stethoscope. That's right there. You see on the left side here. That is the one is the first stethoscope created. Then the famous Harvard doctor David Littman created the stethoscope we all use it now. You all use it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not using it, but you all use it. That's it. So that is René Laennec is a polymath. He's got the idea from the music. So all these polymath physicians are very important. So there is a Benjamin Rush. He is from the United States. He was a physician, politician, and a social reformer. He was anti-slavery, and He was a criminal justice reform he was doing. He's one of the physicians. Is always involved in the social reform. You know, he was. Um, is a is a first, I think he's a father of the psychiatry, they say. So he's very he was involved with the mental health area. And then his lectures are so famous. During the time, there was a ticket used to they used to produce tickets for his lectures during the time, in the 1746 to 1813. Think about that, guys. So he is a truly American polymath. But polymaths are not all of the past. There are a lot of new ones are there. So one of them, one I follow, is a Dr. Bill Frist. Is a physician. He ran for Senate. He became a Senate majority leader. Now he is a Second Opinion podcast he runs. Very successful program. I follow his podcast. He always um, interview presidents, policymakers, all of them. So I listen to that is podcast. He is also PEPFAR. Is one of the is instrumental in passing as a doctor, as a feeling for the people, and then social. He's also a reformer. What he did was he was very instrumental in passing the PEPFAR. It is a president's emergency plan for AIDS relief. That's the largest funding we got acquired for that. Even that's per single disease. This is still the largest, more than $100 billion that fund was allocated for that program. Still is a very active. I met one of the actually directors in San Francisco, one of the guys. So he's a truly is a modern one of the modern uh, polymath physician. So there are a lot of millennial polymaths, now. Vidya Viswanathan is a she's still just finished her residency. She's a she's a Chinese historian. She came from China history of she was studying Chinese history. Think about that. And then she became a physician. So it's now she can read all the activism and all these things. Think about that. What the ideas she get. Suppose you go and read about those old traditional Chinese medicine, you can find some things, right? So she is a Chinese historian. So that is a polymath. There is a Elizabeth, the millennial polymath, Elizabeth Codd. She's a painter, visual artist. She became a. She says that it's not that far. It's interesting. She says that the things and the work is involved in the both areas are same. Always Einstein said that knowledge and the scientist and artist are same. Is exactly she did. She's a physician and a painter and a visual artist, Elizabeth Codd. These are the millennial physicians. So why doctors need to know all these things? That is a so as we heard from Dr. Uh, Gergely. So is a patient, blockchain. Why do you need to know about blockchain? Blockchain is immutability. The power of the blockchain is immutability. You have to know, because the privacy of the patients is critical to us, because we cannot sell if somebody has a cancer, and if everybody knows about it and it releases, that's a problem. So you have to understand the principle. You may not be expert, at least you need to know what that is, what the blockchain works. Blockchain is immutable truth. It is a chain. So if you say I went to I wanted to see a doctor tomorrow at 5 p.m. That is a statement in the blockchain. Is you cannot erase it. I never said that. Say so all of them are recorded, and they say, oh, I didn't say that. It's not possible, because all the miners, all the people in the black and the chain, they tell you he said it. We all know that he said it. So they cannot be taken out. So the democracy as in action is mutability, is the power of the blockchain. So doctors need to know. Why they need to know? That is one of the reasons they need to know. So the last one is care journey. The second one is care journey. What is a UX experience? Everybody is talking about user experience. Why user experience is so important? Because you think that when patient comes to your exam room, you see them and say, "Oh, how are you, Mrs. Smith? Oh, I'm not feeling good." That's not enough. You have to know exactly when she started from home, she got the transportation, and she cannot hear. Maybe she needs a niece, a nephew, daughter or son to be around here to bring her to the doctor's office, and then she may not hear, or the transportation, she may not know how to use phones to call the Uber. All these things are. Then she needs to come to the office. She needs to register it there, and then she needs to know what is the deductible and all those things, and then she needs to go back, and then she goes to pick up the medicines. She needs to go back on the transportation. That is an experience of a care journey. You you cannot isolate just exam room experience. He is the only experience that is. So you can quantify that experience through user experience. Now that's called human experience. That this user experience as a human experience. User experience is more of a, how the computer, how do you get into inside and get out inside. If we are extending that to human experience, this you can quantify that actually. You can quantify that journey through the process, step by step, what they are going through. If we help them, if you understand the social determinants of the problem, so you can solve a lot of problems in healthcare. So care journey is the very important one. User experience, you need to learn what is user experience is, what the tools they use, at least to get familiar with that. The third one is a consciousness. Why do we need to know consciousness? We don't care about consciousness, but I tell you, quantum physics is telling you that the double slit experiment said that observer and observed, an observer and observed are the two, you cannot separate them out. Observer creates their own realities. So observer creates a reality, and he can is a is a is a is a when in the double slit experiment, a electron goes through a double slit. In it is a both wave and a particle together. It's a particle wave duality. But observer makes them in his conscious mind. He makes them falling into wave function collapse into the particle. So some of the philosophers argue, some of the physicists argue that is a wave function is collapsing in the brain. So the consciousness is collapsing the brain. So observer and observer are intrinsically connected. So who is observed? The patient is observed. Who is observer? You, the doctor. That relationship is very strong. It's not just a sacred relationship. It is a perception. It is a more than a perception. It's observer, observed, and observer. They're all intrinsically connected through consciousness. You have to really understand that relationship a little bit more. If you don't understand, that is really a problem. Okay. So why you need to polymath physicians, the new physicians need to understand blockchain, the Gergely EX, and understand the quantum physics a little bit, about to understand the consciousness. All these are new things that new doctors need to understand. A lot of new things. Think about, he is retired, he is a older gentleman, Dr. Gergely. He is a blockchain. He's talking about blockchain. That is supposed to be that way. Let me bring him to ask him a question, and then I will bring him. So just a minute, 1 second. I'm going to say one more thing after this. So driven by curiosity, you don't need to be not by necessity. You should create a curiosity. Don't practice intellectual celibacy, in my view. So that is what I practice. What I say. Polymath is a new kind of physicians. Let me bring Dr. Gergely. So how do you like it presentation?
I learned a lot. I learned a lot from you about doctors in the history and currently. And there is one thing that I would add to what you said is customer service.
Yeah,
If we just focus on really the customer, and in medicine, the customer always is the patient, and we're there to service our customer, then we cannot go wrong. And while serving the customer, we can definitely serve ourselves and get reimbursed for it. And that just not just by money, but by bigger
absolutely,
needs.
absolutely.
And and
User experience is one of the. But Dr. Gergely, that I wanted to ask you. So, what is your goal? What do you're still not even not truly retired. You're really working hard to make this idea. You patented this one. What did you patent?
I'll tell you what I did. I came up with an idea, and it's another story, but then I patented it. And since I did that, I started to basically market it, get it out on social media. I use LinkedIn mainly and Twitter, and get the word out. And slowly, slowly, I got a whole bunch of followers who agree or would like to create it. Everybody wants a medical record. And you want a medical record that you can access instantly through your phone. And it works globally. Wherever you are, if you're in Paris and you don't speak French and the French doctor doesn't speak English, you have your QR code, your medical passport, you let them scan it, and they instantly can translate it to French. And this provides you with the possibility of best medical care, because for a good doctor to give you the best care, he needs first of all your history, accurate history, and then it listens to you, and then he does his physical and gets to the impression. And that's what really counts in medicine.
What is your website? Medicalpassport.com, right?
Medicalpassport.com doesn't say anything. It just sends you to my LinkedIn profile that has a
Mhm.
few articles that I wrote throughout the year, where you can learn about my idea.
Yeah.
And
My father
really,
is a I learned
go
from you. My father is a doctor, and he passed away, but he was a doctor and a teacher. He was a small village doctor, and then people used to bring records with along with them. The patients used to carry the notes. He said that we need to go back all the way to the step number one. That is absolutely true.
but you know what we cannot invent the wheel. God gave us technology, gave us a possibility to get rid of paper, but be wise while you do it. And the way ONC did it was not wise. And there was a lot of issues involved. I don't want to get into it,
Yeah,
but
that's
now we have to go back to square one. When the patient is aggregating their own records, they safe keep it in the cloud, and they have instant access to it wherever they are.
okay. Thank you. Truly an honor, Doctor. Doctor, they can connect with you, Robert Gergely, in LinkedIn and medicalpassport.com. You can send an email to that website. Thank you. Truly an honor, sir. Truly honored to have you on the podcast on the podcast.
Same here. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
It's a,
I'm from a village. You can watch it, but we are done with the. But I'm from a. I'm from a village, and my village director won the. He is near my district in the province that I'm in. My district won the. He won the Golden Globe yesterday in Los Angeles. So
that's
I'm going to play that. That is something Telugu in Telugu. So my is a home pride. I'm going to play that. So watch that, guys. That is. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you,
thank
Doctor
you.
Gergely.
It was a pleasure.
Not
Not
salsa, not
salsa, not
flamenco, my
flamenco,
brother.
my brother.
Diana?
Do you know?
Do you know?
Not to?
Not to?
What is not to?
పొలం గట్టు దుమ్ములోన పోట్ల గిత్త దూకినట్టు పొలేరమ్మ జాతరలో పోతరాజు ఊగినట్టు కిర్రు చెప్పులేసుకొని కర్ర సాము చేసినట్టు మర్రి చెట్టు నీడలోన కుర్ర గుంపు కూడినట్టు ఎర్ర జొన్న రొట్టెలోన మిరప తొక్కు కలిపినట్టు నా పాట చూడు నా పాట చూడు నా పాట చూడు నాటు 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 వీర నాటు 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 ఊర నాటు 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 పచ్చి మిరపలాగా నాటు 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 విచ్చు కత్తిలాగా వెర్రి నాటు.
I've had enough of this nonsense! You two, out!
No, Jake, I've had enough of your bullying.
Oh, no!
Go!
పడేలాగా కీసు పిట్ట కూసినట్టు ఏలు సిటికెలేసేలా ఎవ్వారం సాగినట్టు కాలు సింధు తొక్కేలా దుమ్మారం రేగినట్టు ఒళ్ళు చెమట పట్టేలా వీరంగం చేసినట్టు నా పాట చూడు నా పాట చూడు నా పాట చూడు నాటు 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 వీర నాటు 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 పూర నాటు 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 గంట పారలాగా చెట్ట నాటు 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 ఉక్కపోతలాగా టిక్క నాటు
Disgusting. This is filth.
భూమి దత్తరిల్లేలా ఒంటిలోని రగతమంత రక్కలేసి ఎగిరేలా ఎసే రోయకాయకి నాటు 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 అరే దుమ్ము దుమ్ము దులిపేలా లోపలున్న పానమంతా తుముకు టుముకులాడేలా దూకేనో సరాసరి నాటు నాటు నాటు